I want it all done by May 9th. And I think Judge Zinnes is teeing this all up to make a contempt finding, a criminal contempt finding. And this is a no-nonsense judge that I think is pissed at the violations of her court order and what the Supreme Court ruled, which is facilitate the return forthwith. So here's what Donald Trump said in his interview with ABC this past week. Donald Trump's talking about Abrego Garcia, and Terry Moran, the ABC reporter, says, "I'm not saying whether Abrego's a good guy or not. It's about the rule of law. The order from the Supreme Court stands, sir." Trump goes, "He came into our country illegally." Terry Moran says, "You could get him back. There's a phone on his desk." Donald Trump says, "I could." Terry Moran says, "You could pick it up and withal." And Trump says, "I could." And Terry Moran says, "With the power of the presidency, you could call up the president of El Salvador and say, send him back right now." Donald Trump says, "I could," but then Donald Trump blames his lawyers. And he says, "Well, I followed the law," Trump says, "and my lawyers say I don't need to do that." Let me play this clip for you. Let's play it.
We're not being treated fairly by all judges.
Oh, that's a subject. So you're saying that you don't like some of the rulings, some of the court orders?
I think the rulings will be overturned, yeah.
All right. Well, let me ask you about one man and one court order. Kilmer Abrego Garcia. He's the Salvadoran man who crossed into this country illegally, but who is under a protective order that he not be sent back to El Salvador. Your government sent him back to El Salvador and acknowledged in court that was a mistake. And now the Supreme Court has upheld an order that you must return him facilitate his return to the United States. What are you doing to comply?
Well, the lawyer that said it was a mistake was here a long time, was not appointed by us, should not have said that, And just so you understand, the person that you're talking about, you're making this person sound, this is a MS-13 gang member, a tough cookie, been in lots of skirmishes, beat the hell out of his wife, and the wife was petrified to even talk about him, okay? This is not an innocent, wonderful gentleman from Maryland.
I'm not saying he's a good guy. It's about the rule of law. The order from the Supreme Court stands, sir.
He came into our country illegally.
You could get him back. There's a phone on this desk.
I could.
You could pick it up, and with all the power of the presidency, you could call up the president of El Salvador and say, send him back right now.
And if he were the gentleman that you say he is, I would do that.
But the court has ordered you to facilitate that.
I'm not the one making this decision. We have lawyers that don't want to do this.
But the buck stops in this office.
No. I follow the law. You want me to follow the law? If I were the president that just wanted to do anything, I'd probably keep him right where he is.
Supreme Court says what the law is.
There's another instance in that interview as well where the reporter, Terry Moran, says, "Look, Donald, the law requires that every single person get due process, that there is a process that is provided to them." And Trump says, "That's not what my lawyers have told me." Here, play this clip.
Here, including terrorists, by the way. Now,
but
did we give them a hearing when they came in?
Well, the law requires that every single person who is going to be deported gets a hearing first.
Well,
do you acknowledge that?
I'll have to ask the lawyers about that. All I can say is this. If you're going to have 21 million people, and if we have to get a lot of them out because they're criminals, we're going to have to act fast. We can't. Do you think we can give 21 million trials? Let's say each trial takes 2 weeks. Is that what you want us to do?
The law is the law, sir. The law is the law, and you're
the law doesn't say anything about trials.
No, not trials, hearings.
These people came in, they're not citizens. They came in illegally. They came into our country illegally. We have to get them out.
There's a legal process for that.
I can't be sure, and we follow the legal process. I can't have a trial, a major trial for every person that came in illegally.
If you go through Donald Trump's Time magazine interview from last week and you see what Donald Trump said, you'll see that he consistently throws his lawyers under the bus as well. By the way, all of this is going to be used in these federal court proceedings. So this was the Time magazine interview. "Donald, you committed to complying with all Supreme Court orders?" Trump says yes. "When you and I last spoke April, are you still committed to complying with the Supreme Court orders?" Trump goes, "Sure, I believe in the court system." The reporter goes, "Well, the Supreme Court ruled 9-0 that you have to bring back Abrego Garcia. You haven't done so. Are you disobeying the Supreme Court?" Trump goes, "Well, that's not what my people told me. They didn't say it was. They said it was. The 9-0 was something entirely different." Then the reporter goes, well, let me quote from the ruling. Quote, the order properly requires the government to facilitate Abrego Garcia's release from custody in El Salvador. Are you facilitating the release? Trump goes, I leave that to my lawyers. I give them no instructions. They feel that the order said something very much different from what you're saying, but I leave that to my lawyers. If they want, and that would be the Attorney General of the United States and the people that represent the country, I don't make that decision. Okay, maybe, but Mr. President, whatever he might have done, Abrego, whoever he might be affiliated with, doesn't he deserve his day in court? And Trump goes, I really just give that to my lawyers to determine. That's why I have them. That's not my determination. It's something that, frankly, bringing him back and retrying him wouldn't bother me, but I leave that up to my lawyer. You could bring him back and retry him. To which the reporter goes, that's exactly right. You could fix this simply by bringing him back and going through a legal process. To which Trump says one more time, but I leave that decision to the lawyers. At this moment, they, the lawyers, just don't want to do that. They say that we're in total compliance with the Supreme Court. And Trump goes on to say that over and over again. Just one other point I want to bring up here as well. Remember in the earlier clip I showed you, Donald Trump said that Abrego Garcia's wife doesn't want to talk to him or hates him or words to that effect. Just so I can fact check everything that Donald Trump is saying. This is the wife of Abrego Garcia. This is from April 15th. I'm only going to show you a short portion of this clip, but she makes a heartfelt plea to Donald Trump. I want my husband back. He's the father of our children. Abrego Garcia's wife lives in Maryland. She and Abrego have 3 kids together. The kids are American citizens. Abrego Garcia has no criminal history at all. He was given a work permit by the Trump administration in 2019. There was a withholding order in 2019 as well, saying you can't send him to El Salvador. And he's been showing up. He works in a union. I mean, he's been showing up to ICE every year. He's a member of the community there. I know the Trump regime wants to act like this guy is like bin Laden, but it would be like, if that's the case. So then you in 2019, Trump gave bin Laden a work permit and he works at the union and he just shows up and checks in with ICE voluntarily. I mean, that's what you're arguing, with no criminal history here in the United States. But just so you can hear what Abrego Garcia's wife says, here, play this clip.
Of after his disappearance, and I stand before you filled with spirit that refuses to bring down. I will not stop fighting until I see my husband alive. Kilmar, if you can hear me, stay strong. God hasn't forgotten about you. Our children are asking, when would you come home? And I pray for the day I tell them the time and date that you'll return.
It seems like you hear about a new round of layoffs every day. So what's the best way to dodge the next round? Well, you get the skills that companies need, so you make yourself indispensable. This podcast is sponsored by Udacity. Want to learn skills that command high salaries? Udacity is an online learning platform with courses in AI, data, and programming, and more. When you learn with Udacity, you're not just passively watching videos or reading articles. You're doing practical exercises and projects that prepare you for the job that you want. That's why 87% of Udacity graduates say that they achieved their enrollment goal. Now, last week I tried Udacity's course on cybersecurity, and I just loved learning a new lucrative job skill while sitting at home in my pajamas. There's tons of options for learning tech skills, but only Udacity is consistently ranked as the top skill development platform. Because unlike the others, it actually works. With real-world projects and human experts that grade your work, you'll truly get the skills that you need. Now, I love that Udacity has a network of over 1,000 mentors available to give tailored feedback on my projects. It creates a really personalized learning experience. When you have a certification from Udacity, recruiters and employers take notice. So for a better job, better salary, and better skills, check out Udacity today. The tech field is always evolving, and you should be too. You can try Udacity risk-free for 7 days. Head to udacity.com/Midas and use code Midas for 40% off your order. Once again, that's udacity.com/Midas for 40% off, and make sure that you use my promo code Midas so they know that